Hey, this is Scott, and it's New Whiskey Wednesday. Normally, we're going to go ahead and talk about a local spirit, but because it's hunting season, and yes, I do have my hunting shirt on, it's bourbon hunting season. And right now, you have all of the big distilleries out of Kentucky releasing all of their special releases. But you know what? There is a secret amongst the bourbon hunters and the Scotch hunters, and that is called barrel picks. Tonight, we're going to go ahead and discuss a general release of Eagle Rare 10-year-old Kentucky Straight Bourbon, but this is a store pick from Total Wine. Stay tuned. Hey, you are tuned in to the Rookie Wine and Whiskey Enthusiast, and as I said in my intro, this is bourbon hunting season. Now, the Rookie Wine and Whiskey Enthusiast channel, we do try to primarily focus on Washington State wines, spirits, whiskeys, but not exclusively. And tonight's one of those nights, because it's bourbon hunting season with being November and going into December, all of the big distilleries are releasing their allocated bourbons. Eagle Rare is actually becoming one of those, but not so much as some of the Weller line, the BTAC, Pappy. And with Four Roses, you have certain bottles. I believe last year it was the Al Young, and then there was the 50th anniversary. Anyways, there's a little known secret in the bourbon community, and a lot of people don't know this. They have a lot of the distilleries have programs called store picks. Now, one of my friends I was talking to through social media, his name is Chris. He's got a channel called Bourbon Saying. He just did an entire video on store picks. Now, he's lucky. He's a little bit closer to Kentucky. Has a little bit more access to store picks. Most of the store picks we see out here in the state of Washington, there is a couple local stores that have their own store picks. But for me, down here in the South Puget Sound area, Total Wine. And tonight, we're going to discuss Eagle Rare's 10-year-old. It is a store pick from Total Wine. So what is a store pick? A store pick is somewhere where a buyer, typically a store, contacts a distillery and says, hey, I want to go ahead and purchase an entire barrel, bottle it and put my label on it, saying that this particular barrel is mine. So they go and the distillery will have anywhere from 3 to 5 barrels. Their purchaser goes and tastes each individual barrel and says, okay, you know what, I like this flavor profile here. This is what my store wants to sell. With somebody like Total Wine, they're a national company. These distilleries are going to have those same 5 to 10 barrels set aside. And what the buyer, the taster, is going to do is they're going to go in and they're going to go ahead and taste a particular barrel and say, okay, this particular barrel I want for the state of Washington or maybe the Pacific Northwest. What's the advantage of this? Now, if you get a regular bottle of Eagle Rare, and I hoped I had a regular bottle of Eagle Rare, but I finished it. You can compare the flavor of a regular bottle of Eagle Rare, which is, it used to be, by the way, all single barrels, but Eagle Rare went several years ago to a blended barrels of 10-year-old bourbons. Typically, though, on a single barrel store pick, that is exactly what it is, a single barrel. It is a store pick. So it's kind of nice to be able to taste a store pick next to a regular offering. Now, what's the difference in price? Typically not. There is no difference. I bought this particular bottle at Total Wine for the same price I could have got the regular Eagle Rare 10-year-old. So let's go ahead and taste this. We'll take a look at it first. I am seeing a nice amber. It is a bright amber, almost a dark golden type amber. The legs on this, it is hanging directly on the side of the glass, and it is slow going down. I already know Eagle Rare is going to be one of the bourbons actually that got my wife interested as well into bourbon. So it's always something we're going to have in our house. Right off the bat, I get that rich caramel note. There's a sort of a nutty note to it, almost. I'm thinking brown sugar pecans. There's a slight fruit note, almost like it's not cherry, but it's I get kind of a choke cherry, kind of a more of a bitter red fruit. Maybe even more of a tart crab apple. Yeah, I would say more of a crab apple on this one. Now, the Eagle Rare is not a complicated bourbon, so you're not going to get a whole lot of other flavors. This is a good beginner's bourbon. Matter of fact, I prefer this over Buffalo Trace. Now, here in the state of Washington, even with the tax, you're talking anywhere from $15 to $20 more a bottle. I personally think it's worth it. Let's go ahead and take a sip, though, shall we? That sugared, brown sugar pecan note is right there. That tart red choke cherry, not choke cherry, red crab apple note. It's there's a little bit of a stringency on the back palate. There's that oak, but right up front is that buttery caramel toffee note. Now, what's different, what I know from what I've tasted before on Eagle Rare, this particular store pick has that astringency on the back end. It's something different. This is something that you have to explore yourself. I like the a little bit more complexity on this. Again, this is probably a single barrel. Yeah, it is right there on the label, single barrel. So this has not been blended with 5 or 6 other barrels to make a batch of Eagle Rare. This is what makes this type of stuff different. Now, here in the state of Washington, the price has gone up on this after tax. I believe it is now $50 a bottle. It used to be you could purchase it for $25 to $30 a bottle before the tax. Let's go ahead and have another sip on this. Sorry, I just love nosing a good, solid bourbon. And again, for me, Eagle Rare is a good, solid beginner's bourbon. It's perfect if you want to jump into it. Second time around, I'm getting a nice coating on the palate. That crab apple's there. A little bit of astringency, that oak on the back end. But now I'm getting a lot more of that nuttiness, that sugared, brown sugared pecan note. My palate's acclimated to the ethanol. Now, Eagle Rare is at 90, I believe this should be at 90 proof. 45% alcohol. So yeah, it is 90 proof. There is no burn on it for me. Now, for some people, yeah, it's going to show a burn on the palate. But after you take that first initial sip, your palate becomes acclimated to it. Again, this is a good, solid beginner's bourbon. If you're in the store, and it doesn't matter if it's Total Wine or a larger liquor store. I know in the Midwest you guys have Binny's, Party Source. Here, I believe, I can't remember the name of it. Bob's Liquor up in North Seattle typically gets a lot of store picks. Total Wine obviously gets a lot of store picks. If you know that a particular store is large enough to be able to get a store pick, and you've got a bottle of Eagle Rare and a bottle of the store pick Eagle Rare, and it doesn't matter if it's Eagle Rare, I'm talking any of their bourbons, pick up the store pick. Unless the store is charging significantly more for that, you're going to be a much happier person. So that being said, what am I going to rate this? You know, it's like I said, it's not complicated. It's not like a George T. Stagg. It's not like a Booker's. It's not like the Michter's 10-year-old. Even though this is a 10-year-old bourbon, this is a solid 85. 85 out of 100. And if given the opportunity, I will always, like I said, I will always pick a store pick over a regular bottling of this particular bourbon. It doesn't really matter of any bourbon. I'll always take the store pick. So that being said, if you have any questions, do you think my tasting notes are off? Please let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about Eagle Rare 10-year-old? What do you think about the store pick program? Do you think more stores ought to do it? Do you think the distilleries need to make it a little bit more accessible? Do you think that would, if they did make them more accessible, would that create even more of a shortage? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you think that somebody would benefit from this particular video, please go ahead and share it. in your bourbon groups and your scotch groups and your whiskey groups. More than appreciated. I'd like to get the word out about the channel. Also, if you do like this, please hit the thumbs up button and then hit the subscribe button there. After you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell icon right next to it. That way when I do more of these types of videos, you'll be first notified. Also, upcoming next week, I have some exciting spirits. I'm not necessarily going to be reviewing whiskeys on Wednesdays now, but I just came back from this last weekend to the first annual Tacoma Distillery Festival. I've got some Washington State gins, rums, and whiskeys I cannot wait to introduce you to. So, as always, please drink responsibly, and life is too short for either bad wine or bad whiskey. This is a great store pick. Cheers. I'll be refilling that glass shortly.